Mr. Zients, I want to pick back up on, we just discussed in the last hour, and the minority made reference to Exhibit 2, which was a memo describing the use of the president's pen, the signature pen, or the Autopen. I want to turn to how that policy eventually developed, how the use of the Autopen developed throughout the administration. But before I do that, can you explain to me what a decision memo is?
Broadly, there's two types of memos. One is a briefing memo. So either not related to an eventual decision or pre-decisional. And those are not the basis for a decision. They might be the basis to set up an eventual decision. And then there's decision memos, which brief the president on decisions. And they're often used as background for a meeting where the president gathers the relevant people. That may or may not result in a decision in that meeting, or might be subsequent meetings.
I want to pass out, we'll mark as Exhibit 3, a draft decision memo. The reason I assume it is a draft is because it is dated February X, 2021, and February X is not a real date. And I assume a decision memo that actually went to the president would have the actual date on it. Is that fair?
That's my assumption also.
And if you look at the top of this draft, there's a rectangular box with, it looks like 4 options: approve, reject, approve as amended, and discuss. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that standard for what a decision memo would look like to the president?
Yes.
And this particular draft appears to be from Jess Hertz, the staff secretary, and Michael Hockman, the deputy staff secretary, CCing Ron Klain, Jen O'Malley Dillon, Bruce Reed, and Annie Tomasini. Is that all correct?
That's what it says, yes.
And the subject is approval of routine documents by use of the Autopen. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I'll direct you to the second page. Under analysis at the top, there is Roman numeral 1, which is documents for your consideration, approval, and original hand signature. And I will read. Based on precedent from the Obama-Biden administration regarding which documents generally are hand-signed by the president.
You know what? I spaced out. Start over. Tell me where you are.
Sure. Second page.
Yeah.
Just under analysis.
Got it. Right at the top.
Right at the top.
Got it.
Based on precedent from the Obama-Biden administration regarding which documents generally are hand-signed by the president, our recommendation is that as a general rule, you personally approve and hand-sign all decisions that require presidential action. The proposed categories are as follows. I'm not going to read all of the categories, but you will notice that the third one from the bottom is pardon letters. Do I have all that right?
Yes.
Does this mirror the what you came to understand as what should be signed by the president while you were chief of staff, hand-signed by the president?
I don't think I've ever been exposed to this level of detail. As I said, when I came in 2 years into the administration, these processes were in place, and Bruce Reed as deputy chief of staff, Neera at the time as staff secretary, and Ron as chief of staff had a process in place that was working. So have never seen this before my prep session. And so it's not in it. And furthermore, as we said earlier, I don't believe that it was a decision memo based on what you said. I thought this was proposed guidance, not a decision.
Well,
but I don't know that.
So have you never seen a decision memo laying out the breakdown of when the president should hand sign a particular set of documents?
Not prior to prep.
What was your understanding of what documents should be signed by hand or which could be auto-penned in certain situations?
Everything here is a general thing. Generally, we, on important, particularly on the most important pieces, we make efforts to have the president do a wet signature, but Autopen is legal. I don't think there's any ambiguity around that. So it came down to the logistics. If an important piece of legislation, keeping the government open, and the president in this, I believe, hypothetical, is not in town, it's important to get that piece of legislation to him, if at all possible, right? And the reason for that is it's important for the president to be seen signing an important document like that by the public, going back to the importance of, the communications of being president of the United States. So every effort would be made, and I think on almost all occasions with major pieces of legislation, heroic efforts enabled, because you wouldn't want, if he was far away in a foreign country, the idea that the government could shut down because something wasn't signed. I don't know if that ever happened, though. Every effort was made. And in general, the president liked to sign things, right? So he'd often ask about, where am I going to sign this? Is there going to be a signing ceremony? Am I going to do it at an event? But there were times when logistically the team determined that it made more sense to use the Autopen. And it was, the understanding was that was a legal, and it is a legal option.
Do you know who the people who were actually, people or person who actually operated the Autopen were?
I do not.
Quick question. You mentioned that this document is guidance, not a decision memo. Could you explain to me why?
Well, there's not the language of two things. One, it doesn't sound like it ever was signed by the president, right? So there's not a decision unless the president signs something.
It's not a draft decision memo as opposed, I'm just not understanding where the term guidance is coming from.
Guidance is different than decided policy. This does not, I could be wrong, because again, I wasn't around during this period of time, but from what you just said about draft, it never was signed by the president as a policy. This was proposed process and guidance that may or may not have been an important part of the transition. I don't know. I wasn't around for that.